Hey you guys, this is the Majestic again. Coming on to make my second video about the dreams I've had. In my first video that I recorded, I just basically told you guys about my 3 rapture dreams that the first 3 I've ever had, and afterward I had quite a few dreams. Of just utter chaos, pretty much, of what happened after God took his spirit from this world. And I wanted to come on and just tell you guys about a couple of those dreams. But first, before I tell you, I just want to give God praise and just thank him for another day. And also ask you guys, if you could just say a small prayer for me. I've been getting attacked constantly on a daily basis by the devil, and it's just aggravating. And but you know what? I just think of it like this: I fight a greater fight, and I try to keep strong in our Lord Jesus Christ, and I constantly feel him with me, so I'm never afraid. But it's just aggravating. I just want to punch the devil in his face sometimes, but you know, what can you do? Just hit him with the word of God. But before I tell you guys about this dream, I always tell you guys, just seek God first in discernment. Whatever you need to know, or just want to find out things, just go to him and ask him first, and he always will open up his spirit and just show you things and start to open up more and tell you things the more you seek him. So just seek him in discernment. But I'm going to go into my first dream. Well, after the dream I told you guys about, after God took his spirit from the world, and I remember I was in the city, and just everybody had went crazy, and I felt, literally, once God took his spirit, I felt hell raised to earth. And from then on, I kept getting switched into different settings. Like my first dream that I had left the city scene, and it became nighttime, and I was moved outside the city. And I remember, because I saw all the city buildings, but except it was pitch black. The whole city had went black. And all I could hear is just utter screaming. Every building was on fire. People were constantly attacking people. There was no lights. There was just utter chaos. And it's like you could not see anything. So it was just, you could tell all kinds of evil things were lurking around in the darkness. And they could see you, but you couldn't see it. And that first dream, I was just placed in that back alley behind the city, and all of a sudden in my second dream, because I believe this was in the same night, I was switched from one scene to another. In the second dream, I went from being in this dark black alley and I got switched to my grandpa's old neighborhood. And I'll never forget, because this house that I got switched to was in the straight up ghetto, and it was an old beat up house that my grandpa used to live in back in the day. And when the dreams shifted, I went from seeing city buildings on fire to seeing nothing but houses on fire. And I sensed that the whole neighborhoods, like all the neighborhoods, had been the people had left their homes to go into the city because everything was destroyed. There was no food, there was no water, there was nothing, so everybody left to go to the city. So while I was there at my grandpa's house, I just remember looking around, and I can sense nothing but evil things lurking around in the area. And I felt like there was like a whole bunch of eyes watching me, but I could not see anything. So I tried to walk up to my grandpa's house in that dream, and he had lights on in his house, but I couldn't get in the house. And it was just weird. I just felt like everything had become so demonic. I felt like the people, they weren't, like, they had been transformed, like, kind of like they weren't acting like themselves anymore. It's just kind of like a dog-eat-dog kind of world. Like, everybody was for themselves. Nobody cared, and it was just weird. But that's just the understanding I got. My third dream that I had, I remember, and this was kind of recent actually. In this dream, I was placed into a neighborhood, and in this dream, it was different because I wasn't actually in my own body. I had been placed into another woman's body. And I remember walking into an apartment, and I was, there was a certain amount of people. These were people that I knew in the past that I was never, like, I knew them, but I didn't really know them like that. But it was like we all lived in the same house, and the only reason we lived there together is because everybody, we were trying to keep a roof over our heads and, fend from everybody outside, because there was no food, there was nothing. Everything was scarce, and everybody, nobody was in their houses. Everybody seemed to be outside. But in this dream, when I was in the house, there was like, okay, well, we need to go get some food. There was nothing left, so we went out. And as we walked into the neighborhood, I remember looking up at one of the apartments, and two guys broke into this one apartment and began, trying to steal whatever food they could find out of the apartment. And next thing I know, I saw about 15 other people ransack the same apartment after these two gentlemen broke into the apartment. And I'm sitting there looking like, what is going on? Why are these people doing this? And, I guess in the dream, I got the impression once again, there was no food, no nothing, and people just trying to do everything they could to get their hands on some food. And you guys, let me just say this too. After I had this dream, God really, he began to talk to me. He started to stress to me that, he's coming very, very soon. And when these things start to happen and he begins to take his wrath out on this world, it will be hard to find food and water. And he instructed me to, just start loading up on canned goods and different water. I went out and bought like a whole bunch of water and stored it at my house. I bought up water for my family. And of course, they think I'm crazy, but oh well. I done bought up a whole bunch of canned food for me and my family, and I just been storing it. So, you guys, if you get the chance, just start going to the store now and buying canned foods and water and everything, because once this stuff starts to hit, you can only imagine how crazy it is to try to get food and water. You can imagine the Virginia, when they had the spill and they could not, the chemical spill in the water, and nobody could get any water. And water was scarce, and it was upcharging for water and everything, and, it's just, I don't want to be put in that situation where I have to go out in the world and fight people for some water and everything. So if I were you guys, just start loading up on whatever you can. I please do that. Because this dream kind of opened up my eyes on how crazy it's going to get between people. But that was that dream. Go get water. Go get food. Start storing it up now. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. My fourth dream that I had. This dream kind of got me. In this dream, it was nighttime. And I remember it was just a whole bunch of people just walking outside, and everybody was trying to find things to salvage because the cities, had been destroyed there, and there was nothing left. It was kind of like we all was just placed in like a field area. Everything literally had been destroyed, and some people were walking around and, not even looking for food, but they were just looking for their family members. People had been separated, there's all kinds of cars blowing up, kind of sinkholes everywhere. It was just weird. In this dream, it was strange because I felt like people were just standing. Some people were just standing there dazed, but we all knew for some reason that, we were just waiting on God to come back at that time. We were just sitting there just waiting because everything had happened in the world and it was just empty and the people just had given up hope. And I kind of sensed it was God's people, some of them that had left that hadn't been persecuted or whatnot, but they were just left and they were waiting for God to come back. And, well, at least that's the understanding that God gave me in this dream. And people were still trying to hold on because they knew what was about to happen next. And at the end of the dream, I was taken because it shifted, and all I remember is I was lifted up in the air, and as I was lifted up in the air, I literally watched God tear the earth completely apart. Like you rip a piece of paper into many pieces. He just ripped everything apart. The ground came above everything. You couldn't hide. There's nowhere you can go. He ripped everything up in sight. Kind of like he's just ripping up paper and throwing it in the garbage can. And that dream was just, yeah. That was my fourth dream, y'all. Bear with me. I'm not good at explaining a lot of things, but I try to write them down so you at least have an idea. But I'm not really too good at explaining stuff clearly, but bear with me. Okay, in my last dream, this was a recent dream as well. I just had this one a couple weeks ago too. This dream, I was placed at a hospital, and I remember I came outside and I was getting ready to go to my car, and I remember looking up at the sky, and when I looked up, I saw a fully eclipsed moon, and right next to it, I saw a moon that was on fire. And as I stood there and I stared at it, I heard somebody yell at me and run and say, "Hey, come back inside. Come inside right now." They started yelling at me. So I instantly ran back into the hospital because I didn't know why he was yelling at me to come back into the hospital. But I ran back into the hospital. And after that, the ground all of a sudden disappeared. And it was like we were all trapped in the hospital. Like everything disappeared. All you could see is like just a little piece of the entrance of the hospital. The whole hospital was intact, but when you walk outside, there was just a piece of the front entrance left. And I remember someone saying that everything's gone outside. Don't go outside. You just don't go outside now. And there was this one guy who wasn't trying to hear. He was just like, no, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this place or whatever. So he ran to the front door and he went out onto the little piece of ground that was left out on front. And instantaneously he lost his breath. As soon as the doors opened and he went outside, he lost his breath, and he ended up passing out quickly. And they came and they tried to revive him and everything, but I don't know whether or not he made it or not. But I just remember saying that if you go outside during this time, or when you see the eclipse moon and you see that moon, the fire moon, then you would be you lose your breath, you'll die. It's kind of like you can't go outside, you can't do anything. And I think that's just God's way of saying that when everything starts and the days of darkness start, you're not supposed to go outside, or you could risk your life, and you need to stay inside. And I don't know. This was my dream, you guys. I just wanted to come on and post it and talk to you guys, and I pray that you do seek God in discernment. I try to explain it as clear as my ability can explain it to you. So just pray on it, and I'll see you guys later.